Snow blew across the road like torn pieces of memory when the janitor stepped into the diner, his boots heavy with years of struggle. His name was Michael, a single dad who mopped floors at the Navy dockyard he once dreamed of serving in. The smell of burnt coffee and frying bacon filled the air, but something else made him stop. At the corner booth sat a Navy Admiral, coat decorated with medals, eyes tired but sharp, eating alone. Michael's chest tightened, recognition flashed like lightning in an old storm. That face. That woman. Admiral Elena Graves, the officer who once commanded the ship he served on before an injury ended his military life forever. He walked straight to her table, heart pounding like war drums, and without hesitation or greeting, he said the strangest thing he had ever said, "You're coming with me." Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected turns in life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support keeps stories like this alive. People turned, the diner paused, spoons stopped mid-air. Michael didn't mean the words rudely, they came from a place of desperation burning quietly inside him for years. Elena looked up, startled but calm, and something flickered in her eyes, recognition too, perhaps. But Michael didn't wait to read it. His 12-year-old daughter, Lily, was home alone right now, sick with a persistent fever that medicine could no longer soothe. Hospitals were expensive. His late wife's voice echoed in his memory like a ghost wandering through empty halls, "Promise me you'll protect her. No matter what." He kept the promise, but life didn't make it easy. Bills piled up like fallen bricks, and wages as a janitor barely fed them. He needed help, but not just money. He needed something more human, more healing, more hopeful. He stood there trembling, not from fear but from a weight carried too long. Elena slowly rose, studied his face like reading old scars, and nodded without a word. She followed him out into the snowy morning like destiny accepting an invitation. He drove her to his small wooden house at the town's edge, windows frosted, porch cracked, but warm with memories. Inside, Lily lay curled under a blanket on the couch, cheeks flushed, breathing shallow. When she saw the Admiral, she blinked, confused yet curious. Michael spoke softly then, words tumbling out like truth finally free. He told Elena everything, how he once served under her, how he took a bullet during an operation that saved many but ended his military career, how he met his wife later, how cancer took her too early, and how Lily had been the only light left in his dimming world. Elena listened, eyes soft, medals on her uniform glinting like broken pieces of a past they shared without knowing. The house carried the smell of old wood and love stretched thin. Pictures on the wall, a wedding, a newborn Lily, a younger Michael in uniform smiling with pride, told stories more painful than words. Elena knelt beside the girl, her navy blue gloves resting on the worn sofa. She asked quietly about the fever, the symptoms, the duration. She examined Lily gently, with a tenderness unexpected from someone who commanded warships. Michael watched her like a man watching hope return in slow motion. Elena stood and promised she'd make some calls. Her voice had the firmness of command but warmth hidden beneath steel. She left briefly, and when she returned hours later, she carried medicine, groceries, and a stack of paperwork, resources, medical aid programs, veteran benefits he never knew he qualified for. For the first time in months, Michael breathed easier. Lily's fever eased with the new medication. Elena stayed that evening, cooking soup in their tiny kitchen, her sleeves rolled, hair tied back, blending into the home as though she belonged there. The three of them ate together, simple food but full of comfort. That night, when Lily finally slept deeply, Michael stepped outside into the cold air. Elena joined him, hands wrapped around a steaming cup. Snowflakes fell quietly like blessings. Michael thanked her, voice cracking like old timber. She shook her head and said he had saved lives once, now it was her turn to return what the world owed him. In that moment, two people who life had pushed in opposite directions found a bridge between them. Days turned to weeks, and Elena visited often, sometimes in uniform, sometimes casually dressed in jeans and a sweater, laughing with Lily, teaching her about ships and stars. She brought books, health insurance forms, and a smile Lily started waiting at the door for. Michael found himself waking each morning with lighter shoulders. He applied for a veteran support program Elena guided him through. Soon the benefits began to arrive. Their fridge stayed full. Lily's health returned like spring after a cruel winter. But life is never kind without testing its progress. One morning, a letter arrived, clean envelope, official seal. Michael opened it, and his heart dropped. The dockyard was laying off workers. His job would end in a month. Panic returned like an old enemy. He hid the letter for 2 days, afraid to burden Elena further. Yet the weight grew, heavy and choking. Finally, one evening after dinner, he told her. The fear on his face was raw, a father trying to be courage for his child, failing silently. Elena listened, then asked him to trust her one more time. A week later she picked him up and drove him to the naval base. Standing at the entrance, Michael shook. It felt like stepping back into a world he lost. Inside a conference room sat officers, documents spread across the table. Elena introduced him not as a janitor, but as a retired hero who once saved an entire crew. She proposed a role for him, advisor and logistics supervisor for veterans adjusting to civilian life. The officers looked impressed, moved by his file and sacrifices, and just like that, the door he thought was forever closed opened again. Not as a soldier, but as a guide, a mentor. Months passed. Michael worked proudly again, earning well. Lily was healthier, brighter, and often visited the base with Elena. Their home felt alive, laughter echoing, soup simmering, games played in the living room. Sometimes, when Michael watched Elena tuck Lily's hair behind her ear or help with homework, he felt something unnamed blooming inside him, gratitude first, then affection, then love. But Elena had her battles too. She confessed one evening under the porch light that she made strict decisions in war that cost lives, and though she saved many, the guilt never left her. Michael placed his hand over hers gently. He said healing is not found in medals or ranks, but in moments like these, soup shared, sick child cared for, hope rebuilt. Tears glimmered in Elena's eyes. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel human instead of just an admiral. One snowy night, a perfect mirror of the day they met, they sat with hot cocoa, watching Lily decorate a small Christmas tree. The room glowed softly, golden and warm. Michael realized that sometimes life doesn't give second chances directly, it sends people who carry them. He looked at Elena, and she looked back with quiet understanding. They didn't need grand declarations. Some connections speak louder in silence. And the man who once stood in a diner shaking with fear and exhaustion now stood tall, grateful, healed. He had taken an admiral home that day, not out of authority, but out of a silent plea life answered. And she walked with him willingly, not as a superior, but as a friend, a healer, maybe something more. Their story became one of unlikely crossings, a janitor and an admiral, but more importantly, a story of broken pieces finding their place. If this story touched your heart even a little, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to channel name. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life. Before the ending, I have a special request. Comment, hope, if you believe everyone deserves a second chance. Michael closed the front door that night, snow silent outside, warmth filling the home, and realized he no longer stood alone in the world. He had Lily. He had purpose. And perhaps, he had found love again. Some journeys end not where we expect, but exactly where we are needed most.